Today we're just going to kind of take a look back at what you've done, what work we've done so far in this unit, and what we read in Tiger Rising, and kind of go over. We're not getting quite as in depth with our note taking and thinking about the book in the way we 100% want us to be doing that. So we want to take a day and just kind of talk through some examples and what that should look like, and give you guys some more time to read your books on Epic.
On the bear for it.
We do have books ordered for you guys to bring actually to your houses that are in like paper or like real books to read that we're going to kind of do a lot of small group work with, but we're still waiting on those to arrive. So as soon as those get here, we'll get them out to you guys, and it'll help us with our small group reading work a lot because we'll all be kind of on the same page when we sit down and meet. But today we just want to kind of talk about a few things. You're going to need your reader's notebook, Post-it notes if you've got them, and a pencil later on. We'll talk about that here in a second. Our goal today. Can somebody read our goal for the day in reading? Ania, I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Our goal to review how to jot notes.
Yep, jot notes. I think Ania cut out. Sorry, Ania cut out, so I can read it. It says to review how to jot notes and what we have experienced and learned so far in the Tiger Rising. Okay, so I'm going to kind of weave all. You haven't sat in and listened to me read. You should have been watching the reading on WordWork. So I'm hoping that that's going to make sense to people when we go through this work. And this is what we mean when the afternoon, guys, when people don't get on to listen to me read, you're not getting onto the WordWork portion and listening to the chapter read alouds. It's going to be kind of confusing for you in the lesson today. So if you haven't already, you've got to make sure you're listening to the book being read, because I'm about to talk about the characters and some events in the story. And if you haven't listened to the read alouds, then you're not really going to know what's going on, right? But we really want to focus on being able to take those notes over the important things that we see and that we read in books, right? Not just like random information, but the important things that come up as we read. So if you got Post-it notes, like we really want to, if you've been taking notes on Post-its, that's great. I love to do it, and I stick them in my book all the time. If I can find my book over here. I've got, you can see I've got just Post-its that where I write down the important things, right, all throughout the book. And then the important thing is being able to take those little small notes and put them together into larger pieces of information that we think are important in a book. We shouldn't just try to focus on just writing anything down. We want to be able to write down what's important as we're reading, the things that we think stick out or seem like we need to be writing it down, right? So when we talk about that, let's look at some sample notes for the Tiger Rising. Notice I've got the title of the book up here at the top. I've got the chapters that were read, and I've got the date, right? So you may not write down the chapters in every last piece of information when you read, but you should be writing in your notebook or on your Post-its the book title and the date you read it. That way you can put things in order when you're going back to look at your notes. So think about, have you taken notes on sticky notes? If you have used sticky notes, stick those in your notebook when you're done with them. That way you keep all the information in one place. But when I was looking at the first 6 chapters of this book that we've read, there's a couple things I wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on what did I know about the characters? What have I learned about the characters? And what have I learned about the important events that have happened in the story? So looking at the main character, Rob, right? I said Rob was a 6th grader. He lost his mom. He lives in a motel, and he does not like to go to school. He gets picked on by the 3 Monger boys. He found a tiger in the woods that was in a cage. He has a big rash on his legs, and then he keeps his thoughts in an emotional suitcase. Now notice my notes aren't written in complete sentences. They don't need to be. My notes are for me, right? If I was writing an essay about Rob to turn in, I'm probably going to write complete sentences. But in my notes, I can just write down little notes about the important information. Now, those of you who have been listening to the read alouds and have gone online, can you think of another important character in the Tiger Rising, or a character that seems important that we might want to write some stuff down about so far besides Rob? Who else has showed up in that book that kind of seems important, that has had a lot of events happen around them? Who? Asil, go ahead.
The tiger.
So the tiger has shown up been important. The tiger's not really a character, though, right? The tiger is an animal in there. There's another person. There's another character who showed up that's important besides Rob. It's a girl. Anybody remember her name?
Oh, I just thinking about that girl.
Corbin, who is it? I think you're right, but you're muted. I think you said Sistine, right? So Sistine shows up and she becomes important. So I've written down that she's the new girl in school. She's got that, they focus a lot in the book. It says multiple times she has like a deep, gravelly voice. It talks about her features. She's got a very sharp, pointed nose and chin with really dark black eyes. She's named after the Sistine Chapel, and she said multiple times too she plans on moving back to Philadelphia with her dad. And then I wrote that Sistine hates Rob, or does she, with some question marks, because she acts like she hates him, but like it seems like she still treats Rob differently than the other people who are in the book. So I'm really trying to gonna pay close attention. I know I'm moving forward to pay attention between their relationship. Does she hate Rob? Or does she really just kind of acting like she hates him to put on an act? I don't really know yet. So those are the two characters I've noticed that stick out. Yeah, the three monger boys have been in it, but they're not really a character who we're learning a lot about. They're just some boys who kind of pick on Rob. So they're not really important to write down and take notes about. Sistine, though, seems like she's going to be an important character. So I've also been keeping track of what are some of the important events that have happened in this story, right? Like, what are some important things that have happened? So the first thing I wrote down is that in the beginning, it talks about Rob attends the funeral for his mom, and the dad like slaps him on his back and when he starts to cry and tells him not to cry. And that's super important in the book because Rob talks repeatedly about how he never cries, and that's why, right? He never cries because of what his dad did. He moved from Jacksonville to Lister in Florida. So he moves from like a bigger city in Florida to this small little town, and that's seeming to affect him because it's a different kind of environment. He sees the tiger in a cage. That's an important event that happens. He gets bullied a lot in the book. That's clearly important in the way he acts sometimes and how he is. I put Sistine moves in, and she's not very nice. Like Sistine moving in. So I'm just keeping track of some of the important things that happen. Rob has memories of whittling wood with his mother. Making things out of wood. That's what whittling means. And then he gets sent home from school, and he's like super excited about it because he thinks he's not going to have to go back. So those are I've been trying to keep track of what's happening that's important and what do I know about the characters that are important. Notice that I'm not just writing down today I read and writing everything that happens in the chapter retelling. I'm just keeping track of the stuff that I think is the most important, right? Just keeping track of the things that I think is most important. So the reason we did this today is because every so often we need to stop and review what we've read and keep track of what we read, right? And so that's going to be my challenge for you today is maybe today you don't do a ton of reading in your book. Maybe today you stop yourself and you think about, okay, what do I know that's happened in my story that's important? And what should I write down about my story that's important and what's happened, right? And you're going to kind of combine everything you've written down and figure out what you think. Highlight one or two things that you think have been the most important. The most important. So your job today, when you go out, is there is a quick quiz on Canvas about the story of the Tiger Rising. Just want to see who all has been reading with us and who all has been watching. So you're going to do that first. So the first thing you're going to do when you log off is you're going to go to the Tiger Rising and the reading for today and click on the Tiger Rising quiz. There's a grade on it. So make sure you're going on and doing your best. Do not just sit there and not turn it in. Last week, we only had 14 people turn in reading. So that means out of the 25 people in here, 9 people got a 0 on Friday because 9 people didn't turn in any work. Then you're going to jot a recap and review of your notes in the small group section. So when you meet with me in small group or when you meet with Miss Weibel or whoever you're meeting with for small group, you're going to be sure that you're going to go back into your book that you've been reading and take some notes in your notebook or try to find out the most important things that have written down and be ready to share them with your group. And then when that's all said and done, if you've got extra time left over, you're going to go on and complete 2 Lexia lessons if you have time. Okay. First thing you're going to do when you log off, if you're not in small group, is take the quiz. The second thing you're going to do is the notes in your notebook. Okay. And then the third thing on the list is Lexia. Before we're done, I'm going to go through and show you one more time how to get to your small groups because we've had people being a little bit late and I want to make sure we know what time and where we're supposed to go.